Hello, my name is Sofia Chivera. I have been a resident of West Covina for 20 years. I'm a registered nurse and a graduate of Azusa Pacific University. The health and well-being of our community is very important to me. Physical health, emotional health, mental health. When our health suffers, we are unable to increase our capacity to become our best selves. When we are emotionally distraught, we cannot be there 100% for our families, for our community. This is why I served on the East Valley Community Health Center Board from 2008 to 2012. Today, I am reaching out on behalf of 142 residents of the Montero Point and South Hills 2 HOA condominiums in West Covina. I am reaching out for empathy, comfort, and support in addressing a family in our community that is very unhealthy. This family not only has conflicts within its own unit, but this family strikes out at anyone that crosses their path. Since 2016, we have been the victims of a continuous and escalating course of conduct that we feel constitute race-based, anti-immigrant, ethnic, and gender-based discrimination. Individually, we have taken our complaints to both of our HOAs, Montero Point and South Hills 2. SureCare, the property management company for Montero Point, CMS Property Management for South Hills, the West Covina Police Department, Superior Court Judge John Slauson, and Mayor Tony Wu, who directed me back to the West Covina Police Department. Thus far, none of these entities or institutions have been willing or capable of stopping the course of conduct that is causing substantial emotional distress and a sense of dread and terror in our community. The inability of the West Covina Police Department to extinguish the Shewmaker family's vicious, vile acts has only emboldened this family's attacks on us 24/7. We are subject to annoyance, harassment, property damage, loud music, violence, threats of violence. The West Covina Police Department has given us 11 pages of over 75 calls from residents to the West Covina Police Department between January 21st, 2020 and October 7th, 2020. Reports of harassment, bullying, intimidation based on our residents' racial, ethnic, religious, gender preference, and immigrant status. The call log is evidence of a conduct of behavior that alarms and distresses us. The feeling that their behavior triggers in me is one that I experienced 3 decades ago, studying at an international college in 1979. I recall a bizarre encounter with an Englishman. We were sitting at a bar talking to my friends from Iran and Saudi Arabia when this red-faced man spit on me and shouted, "Why don't you go back to your country?" A few months after that, my friends and I were strolling down the cobblestone lane towards the International Student Center when a mob of National Front white supremacists chanting, "Get out," started chasing us. It was terrifying. My heart was beating out of my chest. Fast forward to 2020, and what do we hear again from this sick family? Get out of the pool, Asians. Go back to your country, chinks. We're calling immigration on you, wetbacks, you dirty beaners. Go back to your country. Get out of here, gays. No faggots here. Banging on a single woman's door, wearing a mask, yelling, "I'm going to kill you, you blank wetback. Go back to your country. Go back to your country. We're going to let our dogs out on you. Our dogs are going to bite you." 75 calls to the West Covina Police Department, and the result is only an escalation in the hate language and the hate violence. On October 1st, 2 Asian women with their 6-year-old child were victims of the Shewmaker's 2 vicious dogs, let off leash, biting one woman in the hand and back and seriously injuring her dog with bite wounds on its abdomen and both sides of its torso. The vet bill was $1,300 and continues to escalate. The police tell us, call your HOA. Mindy DiPello of SureCare, the property management company, wrote, "Did the police explain how threats, dog attacks, throwing rocks through windows, breaking windows are not crimes?" 2020 is full of surprises, I guess.
Could you wrap it up for 10 seconds, would you please? 5 minutes, everybody have 5 minutes. Can you wrap it up, please?
Wrap it up,
Yeah.
yes. So what I'm asking the West Covina City Council to consider is an initiative to start a human relations committee to address this family. I don't think the West Covina Police Department are social workers, psychiatrists, or psychologists. We need to reach out and develop a committee to address this family that is terrorizing us.
Yep, thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, and then the next thing I want to address is accusations by my neighbor. And I really didn't want to address this publicly because it's a private matter, and quite frankly, it's an issue of harassment. You know, it's quite interesting. Let's go through the logic here. Complains to the HOA, they don't do anything. Complains to the law enforcement, they supposedly don't do anything. Goes to court to get a restraining order, the court says no. What's the common thread there? The complaining party. So it's interesting to me that apparently we are so powerful that even the courts don't want to touch us. Think about it. As for the accusations of racism, I find that to be the most insulting thing of all. Because what she's doing is looking at me and saying, she's a white person. She calls my family white trash, and everything else. The simple fact is, we are many things. My dad's side of the family has been here since it was part of Mexico. My great-grandmother was born in Mexico City. I am Native American also. So accusations of racism against my own background is just idiotic. I sit on a council and was appointed by members of minority classes. My nieces and nephews, who she says are racist against Asians, one nephew that she's talking about is taking Mandarin in school and has actually practiced with Mayor Wu, who complimented him on his accent. They are also Asian themselves from their dad's side of the family. So again, our family, must be so full of self-hate that we are discriminatory and racist towards ourselves. So again, this is a woman who calls the cops if my nieces and nephews are riding their bikes on our street, a street she doesn't live on. She calls if they are playing in the hills around our complex. She calls if they are in their swimming pool. She calls if they are riding their bikes or scooters down the hill to pick up donuts or go to Taco Bell or to go to Tokyo Central. And I really, really didn't want to have to pollute this agency with this. But at some point, if I don't stand up for myself, who will?